Good afternoon. This is Dennis. This is the Sales Drive Home, sponsored as always by the salesdrive.com, your source for not much. There's not much there, but we're proud to be sponsored by the salesdrive.com. So how you doing today? It's a Friday night. We are jamming on home on the intrastate, setting our cruise control, and going to be talking about sales stuff for 4 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it takes. You know, I wanted to talk today. Yesterday I had a little discussion on phone scripts and using phone scripts and not using phone scripts, and really it boiled down to a single thing: connect with your customers. And so that's what I talked about yesterday. Today, I was going through the day and thinking about, that's my whole day now. I think about, what am I going to talk about on the Sales Drive Home? So really what I came up with, and I think it's an interesting question. The question is, do you know your numbers? And everybody knows their numbers as far as, I sold 20 cars last month. Everybody knows that. But do you know your numbers that it took to get there? And especially if you didn't sell 20 or 30 or 50 cars last month, if you sold 10 cars or you sold 15 cars, do you know your numbers? Do you know how you got there? And the reason that I ask is because sales, any sales, is a numbers game. And it's all about how many people you talk to and what you do with those people. So when we're talking about phone calls and we're talking about making calls and taking calls, when we talk about those numbers, do you know them? Because we can get, you can make a lot of phone calls, you can take a lot of phone calls, but if that doesn't convert into something happening that makes you money, it's worthless. So, do you know your numbers? Do you know, we'll start with floor traffic. Do you know your conversion rate? Do you know how many people you talked to last month or this month to date? Do you know how many of those people you took on a test drive? Do you know how many of those people you did a write-up and made an offer to? And out of those, how many people did you sell? So it's an important number, because then I can work backwards. If I'm gonna sell 30 cars this month and it takes me 8 people, I gotta talk to 8 people, or I gotta talk to 6 people in order for me to get a sale on average, then I want to know. Because it's easy to say, I'm going to sell 30 cars this month, but what's it going to take? How many people do you have to talk to do that? And the same kind of metric is on a phone call. The phone call, the goal needs to be an appointment. On a phone call, your goal is not selling the car. Although, over the past 5 months or so, everybody's talking about selling cars online and selling cars over the phone. But really, that's a very small percentage of people that really, really turn into that. I'm going to buy the car all online. So the number that you need to know is, well, how many people did I talk to that I set an appointment with? What's that ratio? But even before that, another important thing to capture is a name and a phone number. So what do you know? How many did you do? It used to be in the BDC that if you made 100 phone calls today, your contact rate would be somewhere around 30%, maybe 35, maybe 25, somewhere in that rate, right? So you made a phone call and you actually got on the phone with 25 people. So Out of that 25 that, let's say, outbound calls, I made 100 calls, I talked to 25 people. How many people did I set appointments with? Well, hopefully out of 100 phone calls, your percentage rate for set appointments should be 50, 40. 40 puts you at 10 appointments by making 100 phone calls. So if you do that every day and you make 10 appointments a day, the next metric that makes a difference is how many of them showed. And again, that number, you should be 50%, 40%, 50% is at least average. So if you set 10 appointments a day, you got 5 people that show. So how many of those 5 turn into deals? And that's a tough one, because when you get them there, it kind of depends on your list, right? It depends on who you're working and are you working, what are you working? So you don't know that number going into it, but you figure if you've got 5 people showing, you got to stumble into a couple of car deals a day, don't you think? So if those are the numbers, then if you know those numbers, guess what you can do? You can improve those numbers. So if you know your numbers, if you know those numbers, that's the only way to improve them. You can't get better if you don't know where you are. If you don't know where you're starting, how are you supposed to go somewhere new? So you gotta know your numbers. You have to track your numbers. If you are not tracking your numbers, if you're not tracking how many floor ups I'm taking, how many test drives I'm taking, how many write-ups I'm doing, how many cars I'm selling, if you're not tracking how many phone calls I make, how many appointments do I set, how many people do I talk to, you cannot get better. You've got to, we're the grinders. And the only way to grind it out is to grind it out and be professional, to know your numbers, to make this what you do. You live these numbers. Because look, if I know that I have to make 100 phone calls based on a 25 to 30% contact rate and a 50% appointment rate or a 40% appointment rate, that's going to give me 10 appointments. I got to make 100 phone calls. Well, guess what? If I can get better, if I can watch my contact rate during the day, so I'm making all these phone calls, I'm not talking to any people, change lists, go somewhere else. So if I can raise that, then guess what? I don't have to make as many phone calls. If my contact rate's the same, but instead of 40% appointment rate, when I talk to somebody, I set a 60% appointment rate, guess what? Either 1, I don't have to make as many phone calls, or 2, I make more appointments and sell more cars. There you go. So you gotta know your numbers. Know your numbers. If I know that I talk to somebody on the dealership lot, if I talk to 10 people, I take 4 test drives and I sell 1 car. Well, if I talk to 10 people and I take 6 test drives and I sell 2 cars, that's even better. So that means I gotta work on going on test drives, or I gotta work on putting people on paper and generating offers to customers. Whatever the numbers are that you need to improve, you can't improve them if you don't know them. So that is my thought for today. This is a Friday. Awesome day today. Gonna be better tomorrow. Tomorrow is gonna be the day we're gonna kill it, because it's Saturday, and I know you've been working all week on making your Saturday strong this week, haven't you? So thanks for joining me. This is Dennis right here. I am driving home, therefore the name, Sales Drive Home. And if you want to email me, dennis@thesalesdrive.com, dennis@thesalesdrive.com. Feel free to email me. And that's it. I'm done. So we will see you next week. Peace.